Justice at the Gates, God's Call to Fairness, Part 1. The first light of dawn stretched across ancient Israel as the city gate came alive. Merchants arranged their goods. Travelers entered with dust-covered sandals. Elders took their seats where decisions would be made. But the city gate was more than an entrance. It was the courtroom, the council chamber, the place where truth and justice were meant to live. That morning, a widow approached slowly, her face marked by exhaustion. Beside her stood a wealthy landowner dressed in confidence and influence. The crowd whispered quietly. Most people already assumed how the case would end. Because too often, power speaks louder than pain. Money moves faster than truth. Influence bends justice in its favor. But God had given Israel a different standard. Through Moses in Deuteronomy 16:18-19, he commanded, "Appoint judges, and judge the people fairly. Do not pervert justice or show partiality. Do not accept a bribe." What a radical command in a broken world. God was not building a nation where the rich won automatically and the weak suffered silently. He was establishing justice rooted in his own character. Because God cannot be bribed, he does not show favoritism. He sees what others ignore. And that raises a question for us today. If God were judging your decisions, would fairness be found there? This is only the beginning. Watch out for Part 2, Justice at the Gates, God's Call to Fairness, Part 2. The widow stood quietly, her hands trembling as the elders prepared to hear her case. Across from her, the wealthy landowner stood calm and confident. He had influence, connections, a respected voice. In many places, that alone would decide the outcome. But God's justice was never meant to favor the powerful. Moses' command in Deuteronomy was not just about legal process, it was about protecting the vulnerable. Because God understands human nature, we often mistake status for truth. A wealthy person may seem believable because of appearance. A confident speaker may seem right simply because they sound convincing. But truth is not measured by popularity or power. God sees beyond polished words and impressive titles. He hears the cries of those with no defender. Throughout Scripture, his heart is clear. He cares for the widow, the orphan, the foreigner, and the overlooked. Why? Because true justice protects those most likely to be ignored. And this problem still exists today. How often are people judged by appearance instead of facts? How often do louder voices silence quieter ones? How often does influence shape decisions before truth is heard? God's standard remains unchanged. Fairness means listening carefully, judging honestly, and refusing favoritism. Because justice begins when we decide that every person deserves truth, not just the powerful. But what happens when even judges become compromised? Subscribe, share, and follow for Part 3.